Greetings to everyone. This is Abdul Ghani Al Khatib from Cloud Zone Information Technology Company. We are about to start our webinar in a few seconds. Today we will talk about cloud computing, introduction to cloud computing, and what is Cloud Zone could help the businesses and industries. How can we use an old and legacy application desktop with a modern with a modern uh, cloud environment provided from Microsoft. First of all, CloudZone it's a Saudi-based information technology company. We provide a cloud hosting, cloud solution in different manners like software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. We are located in Jeddah, west of Saudi Arabia. Our domains divided by three departments. First of all, cloud computing, then that could, as I mentioned, provide a hosting provider, maybe cloud hosting, maybe PaaS, and host your system in the cloud. Endpoint management that include your antiviruses, your softwares over the employees and team endpoint computers that enable them to work in professional manner and protection and protected environment. Also, we provide network solutions in IT infrastructure like firewall, routers, and switches, and so on. Our other domain we are interested to work in is like cybersecurity, IT consultancy, and many different areas of setting up a custom web application systems. This is me, Abdul Ghani Al Khatib. We are talking about three perspectives here in our domain. First of all is what is the challenge? What are the challenges, the current challenges that face our business and our domain in the uh, current companies and sizing? What is the Microsoft Azure cloud solution? How Microsoft Azure could help me to run my old and current legacy application like ERP, accounting system, and so on. Let's talk about the current challenge. Current challenge is we have system, application, maybe desktop program that age is around maybe 10 years and more. It looks like this screen. You must work with it, but you cannot leave it. So how can we use like that system in modern cloud-based application? What is the current issues of the what is the current issues that facing us uh, of that environment? We used to use certain application in that uh, computer physically located in somewhere else, and no one using that application without located physically at that place. It could be your ERP reservation system, it could be your booking system if you are a hospital, and so. The other desktop application challenges moving out of heavy desktop support. You must have dedicated IT teams, IT guys who mainly keep their desktop clients up to date, supporting desktop issues, maybe supporting the network issues, connectivity, security, protection, and so on. You almost store all your data locally in every single endpoint in your client computers, on your employee computers, you use local system. Some application use Microsoft Access storage. Some of them use Microsoft SQL storage locally in your organization. So your application is useless if you are not using it with the same computer. Also, we have a very well-known issue in the domain, that is outdated applications. So you have to keep all of your employee and team apps is up to date, keeping them licensed, up to dated, and protected as well. We have another concern regarding to the endpoint security threats. So if you are wish or you are planning to protect your team, your employees, you have to monitor every single computer and their usage. So in regular environment, you have to set up a SOC, maybe SIEM, a comprehensive monitoring solution, endpoint antivirus, only just to protect how they are using their computers to work with that application. We have another limitation that we have mentioned also. It's about that application running on single PC that is located in that room. So physically located in that room. You cannot use it without going through physically to that location or desktop. Failure of backup. We have seen a lot of use cases here in Saudi's market facing an issue with backup. If they are hitting with ransomware, if they are hitting with a virus, if we are running like okay located a backup, a lack of backup, lack of data management, that is failure to handle their data and their files. Also, we all know that from time to time you have to repair and you have to replace your hardware, and that is costly because you have to use modern PCs to let your business run. Also, we have security threats due to outdated operating system, Windows, maybe desktop applications, because your team and your employee doesn't know how to update their system manually. So you will have to team viewer or connect remotely to every computer just to update their system and check manually if they are all running up to dated version of that applications. If you don't are connected already to Active Directory managed network. Also, we have licensing issues. If you are running a single application that needs a single license for every single PC needs to run that application. For example, if you are running Adobe Photoshop, if you are a designer or marketing agency, so you need a single license for every computer that running Photoshop. While we have alternative, if you running over shared computer or shared environment, you don't need to license that program for every single PC that you have running. Also, we have a very expensive hardware support, maintenance, renewing, because every single, maybe every year or from 1 year to 3 years, your hardware will be die mostly, and you need to replace that PC, maybe server, local storage, and so make make us sorry for that. So again, we have a very expensive cost for such a making that hardware is keep up to dated, and we have a limitation with remote workers. So everyone right now working from home, maybe from outside of corporate networks. So there is again an issues with how can you protect your employees if they are working outside of your network. Also, we have lack of monitoring, and that is regarding if they have used their personal PC, so you cannot control their entire system from the corporate network or your corporate network. Also, I say that there is a case, and usually happened from threats of angry employee. If certain employee left the company, so how would you control your data over their PCs? So it's a lack of you need additional software just to control your data over that PC. So what is the proposed solution for that? We have many solutions. In regular way, you have to purchase several licenses, maybe several hardwares, just to protect the data, protect data wiping, protect maybe a data transfer, and also you have to set up a SOC, a SIM, maybe monitoring solution, just to keep your eyes as a business owner or IT manager over your employees' computers and PCs. Today, we will introduce a Microsoft solution from a cloud that called Azure Virtual Desktop. Azure Virtual Desktop, it's a solution provided by Microsoft that deliver to you a comprehensive desktop experience that running over virtual environment. You can easily access it via only browser connected to the internet. You can easily run a Windows 10 or Windows Server or Windows maybe 7 over multi-session. So all employees could use the same computer hosted over cloud, use Microsoft apps like Offices, Microsoft 365, maybe Dynamics, and other Microsoft solutions in real-time manner. So there is no lag or delay between your action and the response from that computer. Also, you don't need any remote desktop application like TeamViewer, maybe uh, AnyDesk, or maybe even Windows remote desktop application. So you only need browser connected to the network. You can connect it from anywhere, even from your phone. So you don't need to purchase any hardware. You don't need to purchase any software regarding to set up that environment. With several clicks with Microsoft Azure, you could just enter to the uh, portal and create a virtual machine, then select your specific VM size, and you are ready to go. Why to use Microsoft Azure Virtual Desktop? So it's easy to connect. So you can connect from any device you like. You deliver and expect to use local Windows operating system experience. So no conflict interfaces, no hard to connect interfaces or methods, only username and password, and you are ready to use Microsoft Windows 10 over cloud. Native Office 365 performance. So you are ready to use your Office, your Teams, Microsoft Teams, your solution or Office 365 suite from only web portal. No need to install additional program, use your personal email. Everything is connected to Windows environment over cloud. In that technology, we enhanced security and simplified configuration. So with Azure Virtual Desktop, all machines connected to strong monitoring solution. You don't need to install any additional license or additional software just to monitor your data or employees or working behavior. If you are using Azure Virtual Desktop, by default, you can set up a simple check to use advanced monitoring solution. Also, you will be happy with user profile with fast load time. So you will simulate the booting time similar to the actual booting up Windows from your desktop. So there is no lagging, there is no hardware load time or very long time loading for the operating system. Also, we are focusing on certain things. You can create Linux, the OS operating system. If you are familiar with Ubuntu or maybe CentOS, you can create multiple Linux and also Windows different operating system in a second. It's very powerful for a companies that looking to enhance their platform and their hardware without paying in advance and then had to invest in their hardware. So you only need a simple subscription certain with connected to the Microsoft Azure, and you are ready to go. You can pay for only what you use. So if you're using that machine maybe 4 hours a week, you only pay for 4 hours a week. No need to run it or keep it run like a server uh, 720 hours a month or all the time. So you can keep up with employees shift, and that could save you a lot of money for that. You can integrate it also with your current Active Directory, current systems. If you are certain application that connected maybe over online database or online ERP like a SAP, you can integrate anything from your existing on-premise corporate network and solutions to connect it to your single virtual machine on Azure Virtual Desktop. You can also again run Microsoft Enterprise applications. So you can run Microsoft Dynamics, Microsoft Office, and so on. Okay, let's move to the demo. Then we will leave the seat for Mr. Mohammed Abbas from Logicom, our partner, just to tell you more about that feature. Here, you can access you can access Microsoft Azure platform. This is the simple interface you may face. You have to go to virtual machine here, create a virtual machine, select a couple of settings like subscription. If you don't have already one, then name it like a new VM or something, and select your operating system standard. You may select your uh, hard disk and size, select username and password like cloudzone.net, and so I have missed the typo here. Then here again, the same thing. Then you are ready to go. Confirm, create, and click. With several clicks only, you can create a simple virtual machine. I have already created one. Oops. Okay, there is additional required information I have to set up like encryption and so on. To save sometimes I could switch up to my pre-configured VM. Let's switch up to my VM. I have set it up for just to show you how can we run our old application or desktop application from a web browser. After you're setting up that legacy app, or sorry, that your virtual machine over Microsoft Cloud, you can simply connect via something called Passion. This is just to let you know that this is not an Azure virtual desktop technology. It's a simulation. How can we connect to the Azure virtual desktop from only uh, a web browser? You can click here, and that will pop up you a username and password. I have it here. Then simple password, then connect. As you can see here, you can sign in to clouds to Windows 10 environment. Here is the simple application that I'm using. It's very old. Like you see, it's like building from maybe 10 years ago, and the current companies are still using it. So in that case, no need to replace your software. You can set up online cloud Windows 10, and you can run it over there. So here's another application you can use it. They used Microsoft Access as a local storage. You can set up and complete your work there. Here you can see that we are using actual uh, Windows 10. So you can open any browser, any office, anything you wish you are using in daily manner, in daily routine application. You can only need Windows. You can only need a browser connected to the internet again, just to use your Windows 10 online. So as you see, I'm not using any TeamViewer, any remote desktop application, only web website or connected to my portal, setting up username and password, connect, and that's it. Let us just switch in advanced method and features with our colleague, Mr. Muhammad Abbas. He's an engineer from Logicom. Let's switch and introduce you to Mr. Muhammad Abbas as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Abdul Ghani, for the wonderful session. And I'll start just sharing my screen. Let me know when you see it, please. Okay, do you see my screen?
Hold a moment, please. Let us just. Yes, we are. We can see your screen. Please go on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Abdul Ghani. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the session. And I will carry on with the Azure Virtual Desktop and how you can run an Azure virtual machine on Windows 10. My name is Mohammed Abbas. I'm a cloud solution architect. I have a total of 6 years of experience in the IT field, specialized in the public and private cloud. I work for Logicom. Logicom is a Microsoft distributor in Saudi Arabia. Cloud Zones are Logicom partner when it comes to Microsoft. You can see my email address at the bottom if you have any inquiries or any questions or anything that is related to what we are doing today. You can reach out to me or to Abdul Ghani from Cloud Zones, and we will be happy to assist you. Okay. As an introduction, we'll start by Azure Virtual Desktop. Azure Virtual Desktop is basically a virtual machine that is running on Azure, running on Windows 10. What is the benefit of having a Windows 10 virtual machine running on Azure? Actually, there are a couple of business cases or business needs that require some kind of Windows 10 virtual machine to be running on Azure. Recently, with the pandemic, we start seeing that learning from home or working from home, everything has become, working from home or learning from home. You don't need to be physically attending to a class or you don't need to come physically to office to do your work. You can do your work remotely. So many companies have started hiring people from outside Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, in India, and different countries. So when it comes to giving them some sorts of laptops that you can apply your company policy to, instead of purchasing a hardware and sending this hardware to the new employee at the company that he's working from, now you can create a virtual machine on Azure and just give him the username and password and the right credentials to log in to his virtual machine, where you can apply all the policies that your company has. He cannot copy the data, he cannot install some sort of third party application. Okay, there are some needs or things that you need to set up as a prerequisites to get the solution up and running. The first one, you will need an Azure virtual machine. You will need an account on Azure, and then you will need a domain controller. for authentication, then you'll need some sort of DNS, and then you need to create a host pool. A host pool is where you will keep all your virtual machines at one pool, and you will decide whether you want this pool to be personal or pooled. And I will explain that in the coming slide. And then when it comes to connection, Abdulghani has explained the passion, and I will explain another way to connect to the server also. And you may have your file server running on Azure, and your users will be accessing their files from their Azure Virtual Desktop to the file server, and everything will be cloud native product. And then you will need to set the application group where you will assign some sort of application like Office 365 or Adobe Acrobat to the virtual machines or to the users. And then you need to combine the application group with the host pools to create your workspace. Okay, I'll explain that when it comes to the demo. So in order to connect to the virtual desktop, one of them is the cloud base. You log into a certain link on the cloud on the browser, and the browser will take you to the Azure Virtual Desktop where you will need to enter the credentials that was shared with you. You can connect from Mac or iPad or Android or iPhone or through the browser. Okay, like I said, it's basically a virtual machine that is running on Azure. All the policies that are applied to any virtual machine on Azure are applicable to Azure Virtual Desktop, meaning that you can scale the specification of the virtual machine, you can downgrade the specification also, and you can change the disk size, you can add different data disk size. Okay, and earlier I mentioned that you need to create some sort of pool. The pool contains two categories of users. The first one is personal, where you will assign the virtual machine to a specific user. So you will create a virtual machine with Windows 10 running on Windows 10, and this virtual machine will be assigned to one user. Only that user is authorized to log into that machine, meaning that he owns the machine, he owns the data that is running inside that machine. Okay, so you may have different people working remotely from different countries, and each one of them has his own virtual machine that he's working on. The second one is the pooled storage. The pooled storage, it's one virtual machine that many users are connecting to. These machines are suitable for monitoring system, security, HR, and finance. You know, the softwares or the type of task that does not require you to leave one application. Okay, once you are working in a monitoring center or a call center, all the day you will be running the same software. You don't need to go out of that software creating some sort of PowerPoint or some documentation, or you don't need to do that. All the tasks will come to you through the application that is running. The same goes for the finance, the same goes for the HR. The whole day you're doing the same task on the same application. So this type of scenarios, the pool storage is suitable for them. Okay, it requires some sort of bandwidth depending on the type of application. It's categorized by Microsoft into four types: the light, the medium, the heavy, and the powered. The powered is the highest one among them, and this one goes for the applications that require very high compute resources, something like SAP or some designing application like AutoCAD, the applications that require some high compute resources. Okay, so these are the bandwidth that you need to keep your application up and running, along with the resolution. All right, so here we see the type of resources that you will need them to get your Azure Virtual Desktop up and running. I will go through the resources later on when it comes to the demo. One by one, I will explain them. And we have some sort of optional resources that can enhance the solution in terms of monitoring, in terms of security, in terms of performance. Okay, and this is just an overview of the infrastructure and how it works. The good thing about the Azure Virtual Desktop, as you can see in this slide, there's a gateway that Microsoft has made specifically for the Azure Virtual Desktop,
Mr.
meaning
Muhammad,
that
I'm just asking if you are running your slides or it's kept on the first slide only.
I'm
because
running my slide.
because the screen is kept for the
My
first
slide
slide.
is showing the infrastructure. All
Our
right, okay,
screen
I'll
says
stop
that.
sharing and I'll share again.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Abdulghani. I'll stop sharing and I will share again.
Yes. Right now we can see Azure Virtual Desktop infrastructure. So it's somehow froze to the first slide.
No problem. And let me know when you see them. Okay, do you see the diagram that shows the infrastructure?
Now, yes.
All right. So I was saying that this is a diagram shows the infrastructure of how Microsoft built the solution for the Azure Virtual Desktop. The good thing about this solution, you don't need the public IP address to access the virtual machine. Microsoft has built a gateway specifically for the Azure Virtual Desktop. And while connecting to the virtual machine using the right credential, you can see in the progress that some ports are being opened by Microsoft to authenticate that you are the right user. And once that is confirmed, your virtual desktop will pop up into your browser. Okay, and I will show you that in a second. We have some very good documentation on how things work and what are the specific things or settings that you need to set up to make sure that your environment is built as per Microsoft best practices. And here are the links, all the links for all the Azure Virtual Desktop resources and how you can set them up. Don't worry, this slide will be shared with you later on after the session. And if you haven't received these websites, feel free to reach out to Abdul Ghani or feel free to reach out to me. Okay, this is just an estimation for a pooled storage. And like I said, the pooled is when you have multiple users accessing the same machine. So this estimation is made for 200 users using the same application on the desktop, and it will be shared with you. Okay, and the workload is categorized as medium workload and light workload. All right. Here are our contact details. If you are in one of these countries, feel free to reach out to Logicom team there. And if you are in Saudi Arabia, of course, feel free to reach out to us. I will be moving on to the demo. Okay, just give me a second. I need to share the entire screen so you can see what I'm doing. All right. Do you see my screen? Abdulani, do you see my screen?
Yes, I can see.
All right. So I went to the same portal that Abdulghani went to, but this time I have created some Azure Virtual Desktop machines. Okay. From the slides that we saw that you need to create a host pool. A host pool is where you keep your virtual machines. Okay. So I created this host pool where it has two virtual machines. Okay. And these are the names for them, 01 and 0 and 02. So two virtual machines were created. And then I went ahead and I created an application group. Inside that application group, I made some assignments for the users. You can see that I have Raid and I have Ahmed Saleh. These are the authorized users to connect to that host pool. Okay. And then I associated the host pool with the application group in the workspace. Okay. Inside that workspace, I associated the two applications together here. And then my application is good to go. But before connecting to the virtual desktop, I want to show you something. Notice that I have a couple of virtual machines here. This is my domain controller for the Azure Virtual Desktop. In order for me to access this virtual machine, I need to take the public IP address. Only then I will be able to browse to it. Okay, so I'll take the public IP address. I will use my domain admin to connect to my domain controller. Note that everything is built on the cloud. I don't have anything that is running on my domain controller is on the cloud, my PCs are on the cloud, my users are on the cloud. So what I did is I configured a domain controller. I synced the domain controller with my Microsoft 365 Active Directory. And then I went ahead and I created some users. I authorized the users to connect to the host pool so that when they log in to the URL of the Azure Virtual Desktop, they will get the virtual machine to them. Okay, I just want to show you the users that I created from the domain controller here, and then we will move ahead to connecting to one of the virtual machines. Notice that this is a Windows server that is running on this virtual machine. Okay, if I go to user, okay, this is my domain, logicom.me. Okay, you'll see that I have my AVD users. I have Ahmad and I have Raid. These are the people that I authorized to connect to the virtual desktop. And then if I went to computers, you can see that I have a couple of computers. I deleted a couple of them. I only left this Ramses 0 and Ramses 1. I deleted the rest. Okay, so if I go back to the Azure portal, IP address to connect to this virtual machine. Now I would like to connect to the virtual machine that is used for Azure Virtual Desktop, which is Ramses 0 and Ramses 01. Okay, so in order for me to connect to the Azure Virtual Desktop, there are a couple of ways to do that. Okay, you need to go to Microsoft documentation, okay, and connecting to the Azure Virtual Desktop using the web client. Okay, if you scroll down, you'll see this URL. You need to copy this, okay, and paste it in a different or in a different tab. Okay, once you do that, it will prompt you with a username and password. I need to enter the username and password here. So what I did, I opened this in this private browser. I used the username and password for Riot, which is the user here in my domain controller. If I go back to the AVD user, you'll see this is the user that I used to connect to this virtual desktop. Once I did that, prompt me with the virtual machine that was specified for right. If I click on here, it will take the full screen as if I'm working on my desktop. Okay. So these are the applications that I installed, and you can see that I have run couple of applications here. I will show you why later on. Okay, I will walk you through the connection and from a different browser. Okay, so I will use the other virtual machine that was for Ahmed Saleh to connect to the virtual desktop. All right. I need to go back to Chrome and copy this URL. Okay, so I'll copy this URL. Notice that it will take me to Microsoft, yes, sign in page. So I will use ahmed.saleh at logicom.me and password. Okay, now the next page application group, I created the remote desktop session. Okay, you'll see here the desktop. Once I click on that and I click on allow, You'll see here some ports are being opened. Microsoft is authenticating the user using the gateway that was created for the Azure Virtual Desktop. Now it's asking me for the password for that user. Okay, password. All right. You see it's establishing the connection, and it will pop up with the sign in page for the Windows 10. Okay, with the name of the user and with everything that you have assigned to this user as a employee. Okay, so this is the virtual machine that was specified for Ahmed. It doesn't have any application. What I do is I let me go back to Ride. This is the virtual machine for Ride. uh, if I try to install, if Ride tries to install any third-party application, let's say that here I have a file.exe. If he tries to install any application, it will ask him for the admin username and password. Because this device is a domain joined, it's managed by the company, you don't have the right to install any sort of applications. Okay. I just want to show you one last thing, which is the performance. All right, I have created my virtual machines. I have assigned my users. My users are using my virtual machines perfectly. I need to have some insights. Is this virtual machine suitable for the workload that is running on these machines, or do I need to scale these virtual machines? Okay, so what I have done, I created some sort of workspace. Inside that workspace, I created log analytic. I connected the log analytic with this insight so you can have a visibility on what's going on each virtual machine. Okay, if I go to the host performance, okay, you can see that the ramsys 0, which is the machine that was assigned to write, it has some red flag on some applications. Okay, it gives me the performance of the application and if the CPU and RAMs are enough for the application. As you can see, for all the application, PuTTY, Firefox, it's fine, but for Explorer, there's a delay in the performance. Okay, the same goes for any applications that you will install. If you install Adobe Acrobat, if you install any ERP solution or any software, even a legacy one, that you will see the performance of the application. Okay. um, all right, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll try to answer as many as we can.
Thank
Okay,
you so
I'll
much.
share the slides.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad. We have a private question says that how to share my data with that Azure virtual desktop.
Okay, what sort of data that you would like to share with Azure Virtual Desktop?
Like their personal data or something else like that.
The Azure
Be-
Virtual Desktop is meant for work data. It's not meant for personal data. If you're having some data that you would like to share with your colleagues, what you can do is you can create a file server, a centralized file server, even if you have some engineers that are working from your office. Okay, you want to have a centralized place where all the data can be reached from all the employees. You will create a file server. Each employee will have access to the files that he's authorized to copy. For the personal data, you can restrict copying the data from the virtual machine and to the virtual machine, meaning that I will not be able to copy the data and drop it into my virtual machine. You can do the restrictions.
Great.
Okay.
Okay,
In
another
term of
question says
in term
yes.
of costing, okay. In term of costing, let me share back my screen. Mm, all right. In terms of costing, Azure Virtual Desktop is meant for all segments. If you have one user or 10,000 users, okay, you can make use of Azure Virtual Desktop. So if you go to the Azure price calculator, this is a website by Microsoft that give you some estimation about the prices, that how much the service will cost. You can go to this website and you look for Azure Virtual Desktop. Okay, I will select the Azure Virtual Desktop and I'll scroll down. All right, so the first thing that you need to specify is the region. Okay, and for us, the best region to implement our services at is West Europe data center. And you may ask why West Europe and not UAE? Because of the first thing is the latency. In terms of latency, the West Europe data center is the best, because the fiber optic cables are coming through the Red Sea to Jeddah from I think Istanbul. That's why the latency to the West Europe is less than any other data centers. The second factor is West Europe is one of the main data centers of Microsoft, meaning that all the services that has been announced by Microsoft are available there. Okay. Meanwhile, in some regions, they are not available. And the last factor is the cost. And of course, when you are implementing something, you are looking for a cost optimized solution. You don't want to go with the high pricing. So West Europe is the data center for us. Okay, and the second thing, you need to specify whether this virtual machine or this Azure virtual desktop is going to be pulled, meaning that many users will connect to, or it's going to be personal. Okay, if you go with pull, this means you have a heavy workload. Okay, and here you need to specify, is it a heavy, is it light, is it medium, and depending on the workload that you will specify, you will see that. Okay, assuming that for the heavy workload, 2 users per virtual core. For the medium, it's 4 users per virtual core. And for the light, it's 6 users per virtual core. So you need to specify the type of workload, the number of users that you will have, and the virtual machine. Okay, and for the pool, it's already in our slides. We will be sharing the estimation later on. Let me go with the personal. Okay, assuming that you have how many users? 10 users that will be working remotely. Okay, so I'll add 10 users. Okay, and these 10 users, I'll give them this virtual machine, 2 virtual cores, 16 GPs of RAMs. Okay, the number of operating hours will be the working hours. Okay, we want to keep these virtual machines up and running at day night, because no employee will be working at 12 o'clock. Okay, they will be working during the working hours. Okay, so I will give them, I don't need a premium SSD. I'll give them the SSD disk, 128 gigabytes. Okay, and that's it for my virtual machine. The bandwidth, assuming that they will consume 100 gigabytes, it's a little big for a bandwidth, but let's just go with that because it doesn't cost that much. It's only $4. So I have 10 users that they will have 10 virtual machines that they are working remotely during working hours, and these virtual desktop are pulled. Sorry, are personal. So it's going to cost me $364 per month for these 10 users. Comparing this price with the hardware price that you are paying for the virtual virtual desktop to these 10 users, this price is nothing. Okay, and you can hire these people in on a a contract for a specific project, let's say for 6 months, for 3 months, for 1 year. And instead of purchasing the hardware and then throwing the hardware away after 3 years or 5 years, you can have a virtual machine that is running on Azure, and once the project is terminated, just go and shut down the hardware, replace it, and you will be charged for nothing after that. Okay, I hope the example was clear. If you have any other questions.
Thank you so much. We have another question says how to secure my data over Azure VM.
All right, when it comes to the security part, there are two type of securities. The virtual machine that you build with the public IP address, that I connected to, and then comes the Azure Virtual Desktop. The Azure Virtual Desktop is secured by Microsoft. You don't need to take any security measures to secure your VM. As you can see, I can access my virtual machine through the portal, okay, without using a public IP address, okay, without exposing my virtual machine. If I go back to the virtual machines, you saw that when connecting to the domain controller, I needed to copy the public IP address and paste it to the domain controller, meaning that this VM is not secured. I need to secure my VM on my own terms, okay, using a firewall, using a network security group. It's up to me to secure the VM the way I like. But for the virtual desktop, Ramses 0 and Ramses 1, these machines are protected by Microsoft because they are placed under the Azure Virtual Desktop. There's an application, not application, there's a specific gateway to connect these virtual machines. And you saw to connect these virtual machines, you need to go to specific URL to use a specific username and password. If any of that was not correct, you'll not be able to get to the virtual machine. One more thing that you can add that I did not include in this demo is the multi-factor authentication. You can enable the MFA that the user will receive a message, or he need to use Microsoft Authenticator for approval or a passcode to sign into the virtual machine. You have two layers of security. One is done by Microsoft, the other one is done by you with a multi-factor authentication. Okay, so that way your virtual machine is totally secure and no one can, get into your virtual machine.
Thank you so much. So we have the last question maybe here. Can I extend my hard disk over Azure VM?
That's a very, very good question. Very good question. Okay. Remember earlier I said that the virtual desktop is the same like the virtual machine that you build on Azure. You can scale the virtual machine. I will show you. I will show you. You can scale the virtual machine. You see that here I have two virtual cores and 8 GPs of RAMs. I can change the size of my virtual machine from here, size, to 4 cores and 16 GPs of RAMs. Okay, just by clicking resize, my virtual machine will be resized to that. Okay, in terms of hard disk, the same concept is applied. You go to disk. Okay, right now I only have the operating system disk. I don't have any data disk. I can create a data disk and attach it to the virtual machine. But let me just show you how you can change the size of the disk and easily resize the virtual machine. Okay, you go to the disk that you would like to resize, and then you go to size and performance. From size and performance, you can change the type of the disk itself. Right now, my disk is SSD. I can change it to be HDD or premium SSD, which is higher than the SSD. Okay. And then I can change the size from 128 gigabytes up to 32 terabytes. Okay. I cannot resize the disk because the virtual machine is running. I need to close the disk down, and then this option will be available for me to resize the virtual machine. Okay, it's simple, and you can add it and change it whenever it's necessary. Any other questions? All right, Abdulghani.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad, for sharing that awesome details. Let me just double check if there is any additional questions. Okay, seems that all the topics that covered previously. Okay, all right. Let us just keep information that
Okay.
I would like just to thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad, for sharing these awesome details with us. And we would like you just to inform everybody here, we are uh, able to receive any inquiries regarding to the Microsoft Azure offices. Just keep a message or leave us a simple email that you are interested with that service, so we can collaborate with you and see how can we work together just to enhance and solve that concern and moving your current 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 environment to the cloud. Thank you so much for attending this demo, and I hope you all the best. Have a good day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Abdul Ghani. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.